Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them and tell you all you need to know. Now, no more mysterious trips across Poland for Russian diplomats. Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski announced on Monday that Warsaw will be introducing travel restrictions on Russian spies, diplomats. The decision was brought on by Russia's continued involvement in hybrid warfare operations aimed against the European Union. Sikorski added that he wants Moscow to see the move as a very serious warning. Now, the restrictions will apply to all embassy and consulate staff except the ambassador himself. From now on, Russian diplomats will be allowed only to travel within the province that their office is located in. Russia's so-called diplomatic service responded with its usual aplomb. That is, with none whatsoever, and moved immediately to threats. Maria Zakharova, the spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry, said that Moscow will examine the note outlining the restrictions and then mount a response, one that Zakharova thinks would leave the Polish government regretting their decisions. Now, between one drink and another, Russia's former president and now resident shitposter Dmitry Medvedev has been catching up on reading The Guardian. At least, that's what his recent post suggests. In these posts, he's actually been going over the interview that Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski gave to the British Weekly. So, after reading this, he knocked back a couple of glasses more and sat down to type a new screed. In it, he envisioned a future in which the whole world's in disarray and everyone's asking him to intervene. What brought about this latest Twilight Zone trip, you may ask? Well, the remarks of the Polish foreign minister about how the United States promised Moscow that if it ever used nukes in Ukraine, then its forces in the country would be absolutely wiped out. Now, Medvedev called Sikorski the Polish version of Antony Blinken, which is incorrect, because from what we know, Poland's foreign minister never played a rock gig at a Kiev bar while on a diplomatic trip. He also added that Americans never make promises like that, because they're well aware that attacking Russian positions would easily trigger a conflict that would engulf the whole world and the universe. Let the galaxy burn. Okay, he never said that, but it wouldn't sound too out of place, I guess. Now, going on, Dima the Cruel wrote that another Pole, President Andrzej Duda, has also been talking about deploying tactical nukes in Poland. Responding to that idea, Dima straight up threatened that should that ever come to pass, Warsaw will definitely become a target for a strike that would leave it a radioactive desert. Is that what you really want? He said, ending the rant. How did you know? We've been watching Fallout every single day and we're ready for some post-apocalyptic action. But is Dima fine with Moscow reenacting Metro 2033 in exchange? Didn't think so. Now, in the Guardian interview, Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski also said that he fully supports Ukraine's right to strike Russian soil using weapons provided by the West, which makes perfect sense, but also made him the target of the ire of the whole apparatus of the so-called Kremlin Empire. Now, unfortunately, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz doesn't see it that way. According to Tagesschau, Scholz said that right now he sees no reason to change the use conditions for Western weapons, which currently forbid Ukrainians from using them to strike targets inside Russia. Scholz added that the conditions were put in place to prevent the war from escalating into a greater conflict. Now, where have we heard this before? Now, this means the Ukrainians should just suffer in silence so that all the luckier countries can grow more powerful, continue on with their safe lives and all that. Wow, that's a stunning moral stance there. Sarcasm. Meanwhile, Russia is expanding its foreign agent registration program. Anton Gorielkin, deputy head of the State Duma Committee on Information Policy, expects that the foreign agent register will soon include not only websites, but also specific groups on social media platforms. What would have to happen for such a group to be forced to register? Simply having members hailing from abroad, right? Pure genius. What's next, anyway? Apply the same rules to video game servers, maybe? Maybe that would finally cause some visible discontent among the Russian youth. No aggressive Russians in multiplayer lobbies, though. Can't say I'd have anything against that happening. Now, Putin's little Georgian sidekicks, the Georgian Dream Party, have similar dreams, pun intended, of total control over society. What is more, they hang on to them despite half the country already protesting against the so-called foreign agent bill that the country's lawmakers have recently passed. And now a parliamentary committee has signed off on overturning the veto of President Salome Zurabishvili, who has long been opposed to the bill. Now, at this rate, Georgia could soon disappear from the free, unrestricted flow of information. This could happen in just a couple of months, and as a result it would return into Moscow's open arms. Though, to be fair, ordinary Georgians are not likely to stand idle while this happens. Now, sometimes I would love for our world to be a little, kinder. But then I remember it's mostly, impossible, because there is always Russia to look over our shoulder for. And just look how they treat their own people. In the video ahead, you'll see wounded Russian troops refusing to go back to Ukraine for what their government still calls the special military operation. The disciplining you saw took place in Yakutsk, Russia, cramped into small rooms with as many as 28 people to each one. When a state treats its own soldiers like that, imagine how they treat Ukrainian POWs. Imagine what they are going through, and imagine what the Russians are doing in occupied Ukraine, for that matter. Once again, we're seeing that Russian culture is a culture of torture, blood and abuse. And the worst thing is that it doesn't matter to them. If they don't do it to someone else, well, then their own people will be on the receiving end of the horrors. Simple as that. And still, more Russians believe they're living in a Russia that is great in spirit and culture. Vladimir Solovyov, the propaganda master himself, is actually one of them. He believes his own propaganda. Every night, he threatens another country from his list, be it France, Germany, Hungary, Poland, Italy. But now he's added another entry to the list, Estonia. Why is that so? Well, according to this clown, it's because Estonia doesn't appreciate what Russia has done for them. Let's take a look at this, because this sounds really interesting.
Люди живут в каком-то своем нарративе. Какая-то Эстония долбаная, на полном серьезе. Ее руководитель считает, что он может поставить Россию на колени? Лилипуты, вы вообще охренели? То есть вы вообще о чем? Вы будете ставить Россию на колени? Ну, собрались в шее, давай обсуждать, как будут слона жрать. Вы реально это все несете? То есть вы на полном серьезе? Это при том, что то, что сделала Россия для эстонского народа, ни один другой народ и близко не сделал. Ну так, если говорить объективно. Весь расцвет эстонской культуры, он вообще в какую эпоху и с кем связан? Президент Эстонии Аллар Карис, мы сделаем все, что в наших силах, чтобы поставить Россию и Путина на колени. А когда не встанут на колени, то Аллар Карис скажет, а у нас сил больше не было. Вы вообще, вы что несете, психи? Вообще понимаете, что когда Россия разберется вот с нынешними проблемами и просто поднимет бровь, у вас же будет очередь из тех, кто будет извиняться.
Well, according to Solovyov, who still believes that he lives in the Russian Empire, apparently, there is no power in the world that can bring Russia to its knees. Well, we don't want to remind him about how well Moscow handled the take Kiev in 3 days situation. But yeah, sure, no one puts Russia in the corner. Or maybe we should rephrase the question. What power can help Russia finally get off its knees? Well, that is actually something worth deliberating, perhaps, at some point. Food for thought. And with this, we end this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.